Walk through any Disney park right now, and you'll see record crowds and families spending thousands. Those Disney bucks literally print themselves. But 3 miles away at Burbank headquarters, the creative studios are cutting thousands of jobs. Just this year, Disney wrote off nearly $1 billion in failed projects. The company announced a cost-cutting target of billions, enough to buy Pixar all over again. And an activist investor spent $40 million trying to overhaul Disney's board in the most expensive proxy war in entertainment history. Fans are getting disillusioned. They see empty promises where magic once lived. Creators watch decades of expertise walk out the door. The company that once built dreams is destroying the machine that creates them. The question isn't whether Disney survives, it's whether Disney will still be Disney. Before we get into it, please hit that like button and subscribe to Money Legends. Why drag Bob Iger out of retirement just to hand him a chainsaw? November 20th, 2022, Disney board fires Bob Chapek. Bob Iger's back. And the same day, Iger tells investors his mandate. Cut $7.5 billion in costs within 2 years. Here's why. Disney's streaming losses were hemorrhaging $4 billion annually. The stock had crashed 45% under Chapek. Activist investors were circling, demanding Netflix-style profit margins from a company built on theme park magic and movie spectacle. Iger's comeback playbook had several phases. Slash content spending across Disney+, Hulu, and ESPN. Eliminate thousands of corporate jobs through systematic layoffs. Restructure distribution deals. Cancel underperforming projects mid-production. Consolidate departments. Kill redundant divisions. March 2023, the first wave hits, and Disney announces 7,000 layoffs across all divisions. Creative teams that had built franchise universes over years were given termination notices. Projects that were in development vanished overnight. Entire departments responsible for nurturing new IP simply ceased to exist. The cuts were like a meat cleaver taking to creative infrastructure that had taken decades to build. Animation supervisors who'd worked on The Lion King got the same termination email as junior marketing coordinators. Wall Street applauded every cut. They loved it. Disney's stock jumped 6% the day the layoffs were announced. Investors were happy because they were finally seeing a CEO willing to choose short-term profits over long-term creative investment. Quarterly earnings calls became celebrations of eliminated headcount. Iger had brought himself credibility by wielding the axe Chapek couldn't. But here's the irony. The man who built Disney's modern empire by acquiring Pixar, Marvel, and Lucasfilms was now systematically dismantling the creative infrastructure that made those acquisitions valuable in the first place. Cost-cutting was fixing one problem. Disney's theatrical releases were creating a bigger one. In 2023, Disney wrote off $965 million from just 4 theatrical releases. These were tentpole blockbusters with franchise potential. Marketing budgets exceeded $100 million each. Start with Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. $200 million production budget before marketing. The film opened to a 47% Rotten Tomatoes score, the lowest in MCU history. Audiences rejected it. The CGI spectacle, the convoluted multiverse plotting, none of it worked. The movie that was supposed to launch the next phase of Marvel's empire became a cautionary tale about expensive visual effects without compelling stories. Box office revenue barely covered production, let alone marketing. The other 3 disasters had the same pattern. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny cost $300 million to make and underperformed globally. Marvel's became one of the lowest grossing MCU films ever. Haunted Mansion couldn't attract audiences despite the popular Disney Parks ride. Every failed release tightened creative constraints across all studios. Fewer opportunities for new projects, smaller budgets for existing franchises, zero tolerance for creative risk-taking. Here's what happened behind the scenes. Pandemic production delays inflated costs across every major Disney release. Reshoots added millions to budgets. Extended post-production timelines added millions more. And COVID safety protocols cost millions more on top of that. Films that took years to develop were earning less than their marketing spend. The theatrical revenue model that had sustained the company's creative ambitions for decades was collapsing in real time. Disney announced it would pivot to quality over quantity, produce fewer theatrical releases. This defensive strategy meant abandoning the content volume that built Marvel and Star Wars into cultural phenomena. The company that once dominated popular culture through sheer creative output was now retreating. The stock price jumped 3% when the slowdown was announced. Wall Street was rewarding the company for producing less of what made them valuable in the first place. Then there was streaming. This was supposed to be Disney's future. Instead, another financial disaster. As you can see from the numbers, Disney Plus lost 700,000 subscribers in Q1 of fiscal 2025, then added 1.4 million in Q2. Each lost subscriber represents $7.77 in monthly revenue walking away. That volatility becomes expensive when you're spending $24 billion annually on content. The math gets even worse when you really look into it. By Q2 2025, Disney Plus reached 126 million global subscribers and generated $336 million in direct-to-consumer operating income. That profit arrived after Disney had burned through over $11 billion in losses since launch. For context, Disney paid $7.4 billion for Pixar and $4 billion for Marvel, combined about the same as the streaming losses. They spent the same money losing subscribers than they spent buying two of their most valuable creative assets. The average Disney Plus subscriber stays for 8 months before canceling. Disney spends approximately $40 in marketing and promotions to acquire each new subscriber. If customers leave after 8 months at $7.99 per month, Disney collects $62 per customer while spending $40 to get them. The margin disappears when you factor in content costs of $24 billion spread across 126 million subscribers, roughly $190 per subscriber annually. And to make things worse, price experiments made the economics even more disastrous. They tried raising monthly subscriptions from $4.99 to $10.99, hoping to boost revenue per user. Customers responded by sharing passwords or canceling entirely. The company launched cheaper ad-supported tiers at $4.99 to win back price-sensitive viewers. But advertising revenue couldn't offset the lost subscription dollars from customers who downgraded from premium tiers. Here's the real problem. Content pipelines require 18 months to develop. A show greenlit today premieres in 2026. If subscriber counts swing the wrong direction between greenlight and premiere, it's a financial disaster. Disney Plus had become a $24 billion annual commitment to an audience that proved far less sticky than theme park visitors who booked vacations months in advance. These streaming losses and theatrical disasters had created an opening. Nelson Peltz saw his chance. Peltz, the billionaire behind Trian Fund Management, launched a proxy war that dominated financial headlines for months. Television ads, dedicated websites, shareholder meetings that resembled political rallies more than corporate governance. What did Peltz want? Margins that would make streaming services jealous. From a company built on theme parks and movies, he pushed for board representation that would give him direct influence over creative decisions and strategic direction. The proxy fight became a media spectacle. Peltz criticized Disney's streaming losses in television interviews. He questioned executive compensation in shareholder letters. He demanded immediate cost-cutting beyond Iger's already aggressive targets. Every public appearance increased pressure on Disney's leadership to deliver visible results quickly. Disney and Peltz each spent approximately $40 million on the battle. Legal fees, public relations campaigns, shareholder outreach, resources that could have funded multiple film projects. In April 2024, shareholder vote became a referendum on Disney's future direction. Would institutional investors back Disney's creative control or surrender to activist demands for pure profit maximization? Disney won. Peltz stayed off the board. But victory came at enormous cost. Every public attack had forced Disney to justify creative instruments that built franchise value over years. Board meetings shifted from long-term strategy discussions to quarterly defense preparations. Executive energy flowed towards satisfying activist demands rather than nurturing the creative pipeline that generated actual revenue. The company that once made decisions over 5-year horizons was now operating on 90-day cycles. Even successful resistance sent a message to Wall Street. Disney's creative decisions could be questioned, challenged, and potentially overturned by investors who cared more about quarterly margins than long-term franchise value. The real damage wasn't Peltz winning or losing, it was the fight itself. proving that Disney's creative vision was now subject to shareholder approval. Boardroom pressure was reshaping Disney's creative strategy. The cost cuts had reached the studios themselves. Marvel Studios quietly announced it would slow MCU output from 4 theatrical releases per year to just 2. Disney executives framed it as a strategic reset after the theatrical failures, but internal documents revealed the real motivation. Each canceled Marvel project saved approximately $200 million in production costs. Here's what gets lost in that calculation. The MCU had generated $29 billion in global box office revenue over 15 years. Every film, even the worst performers, drove merchandise sales, streaming subscriptions, and theme park attendance. Slowing the pipeline meant sacrificing the volume that built Marvel into a cultural phenomenon. Star Wars faced a similar fate with even deeper cuts. Multiple series in development for Disney Plus were quietly shelved. The Rogue Squadron film, directed by Patty Jenkins, the filmmaker behind Wonder Woman, was indefinitely postponed. Projects that had been in pre-production for months vanished from release calendars without public explanation. Concept artists received termination notices. Screenwriters who'd spent years developing projects got pink slips. Pre-production teams were dissolved. Creative departments were shut down. But the institutional damage went beyond individual layoffs. Disney's creative pipeline operates on 3 to 5 year development cycles. Today's cost-cutting means fewer films and shows hitting theaters in 2027 and 2028. The company was mortgaging its future content slate to improve quarterly earnings. Meanwhile, competitors were expanding. Netflix announced plans to spend $17 billion on original programming in 2024. Amazon Prime Video launched a $1 billion Lord of the Rings series, while Disney cut content spending. Rivals were building franchise universes that would compete for audience attention. Investors approved of every cancellation. The company that once dominated popular culture through sheer volume of high-quality content was now betting everything on fewer, supposedly better projects. The creative engine that built Disney's modern empire was running out of fuel, and it was by design. Of course, these strategic cuts weren't just spreadsheet adjustments to make the numbers look better. Real people were losing careers they'd built over years. Since Iger's return in November 2022, Disney has eliminated over 8,000 positions, multiple rounds of cuts, March 2023, May 2023, most recently June 2025, across television and streaming divisions. Animators who'd perfected Disney's signature animation style over years received termination emails. Screenwriters who understood the delicate balance between franchise loyalty and creative innovation got pink slips. Producers who'd shepherded billion-dollar franchises from concept to cultural phenomenon were shown the door. 20-year Disney veterans received termination emails on Friday afternoon. It became common to see security guards escorting former colleagues to parking lots, carrying boxes of personal belongings. Creative teams that had worked together for years were scattered across different companies or forced out of the industry entirely. Each layoff represented institutional knowledge walking out Disney's doors forever. It was a brain drain. The animator who knew exactly how to make Mickey Mouse's ears look perfect from every angle. The writer who understood why certain Star Wars storylines resonated across generations. The producer had relationships with A-list talent dating back to the 1990s. Gone. All of them. The optics became public relations disaster. Bob Iger received $31.6 million in compensation the same year Disney eliminated 8,000 jobs. Social media erupted with criticism. Videos of crowded theme parks appeared alongside LinkedIn posts from laid-off Disney workers. The contrast between Disney's financial success and its treatment of creative staff became impossible to ignore. Internal morale collapsed. Remaining employees watched colleagues disappear while workloads increased. Job satisfaction ratings dropped. Talent retention became a crisis as Netflix and Amazon actively recruited displaced Disney veterans. Disney's future doesn't look great. The most dangerous moment for any business isn't failure. It's choosing between quarterly performance and long-term value creation. Disney's financial rehabilitation proves Wall Street metrics and creative magic operate on incompatible timelines. Studios need predictable cash flows to satisfy investors. Audiences demand creative risks that generate cultural moments. Every entertainment company faces this trade-off. Netflix understood this when it invested heavily during Disney's retreat. The winner won't be decided by next quarter's earnings. It will be determined by which company builds the most compelling stories over the next decade. Disney's betting that fans will return when financial discipline restores focus. But the alternative is audiences who migrate to competitors who never stopped investing in creative ambition. Is this the death of Disney? What do you think? I read every single comment, so let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if corporate strategy fascinates you, smash that like button and subscribe to Money Legends. We have plenty more videos coming soon, and you will not believe this next one. It's quite amazing. Click here to watch it now.